Greetings, Divine Nation. I am Minerva, your Aquariana Gateway Guide. Thank you for joining me today for lesson number 12. If you are new to this channel and work and you are here for the Aquariana Gateway lessons for best results, please first watch the videos in the channel playlist entitled About the Aquariana Gateway Lessons for more information. Then, when you're sure you're ready to begin, start with Course 1, Lesson 1, as this program is designed to be taken in order for best results. Now let's get started. This week, I introduced to you the great law of cause and effect. Any lack or limitation whatsoever in our lives is caused by our past and present thinking, speaking, feeling, and acting as though we are separate from God or the divine. A lack of recognition and a realizing of the ever-present light, life, power, energy, intelligence, love, and wisdom, which is God's substance, ever present in every inch of space, everywhere present in the universe, both seen and unseen, present in every cell of the body, present in our breath, for our breath is spirit. If you make business or household worries and stresses your God, you will of necessity retard your more rapid spiritual advancement, for as long as you're worshiping this false God before the life-sustaining God, your spiritual evolution is being retarded. It is not what your hands are doing, but what your heart is worshiping that determines your growth. If you fail to recognize, obey, and realize the great God presence and the working of the great law which hands out justice to all, rich or poor, gives back just that which has been meted out and earned by the individual, if you close your mind and consciousness to all of this, then you separate yourself from Source Divine in your own mind, and your thinking is apt to run into the negative, destructive channel, which will eventually lead to a negative condition. And instead of making density through positive thinking, you make fate through negative thinking. In other words, your thinking, recognition, obedience, and realization, or the lack of it, makes the fate of tomorrow, or leads you closer to that great goal where you can become captain of your soul and master of your destiny. Fellow travelers, if you're to travel the path of positive light into the incoming new age, the law of cause and effect must be lived in the positive at all times, and you are not to sow to the negative side at any time in your thinking, speaking, feelings, or actions. You must learn never to allow anything to go forth from you in thought, speech, emotion, or action that is not of the positive vibration, for the simple reason that you are responsible to your Christ self within you for that which you allow. I know this is hard to do. It's seemingly impossible. But I promise you, the more you are conscious of trying, and the more you continue to try, the easier it does become. And when you do slip up, and you will slip up, it's okay. It's awesomely powerful that you've recognized that you've slipped up. It puts you that much closer to doing better next time. And that counts for a lot. We're also responsible to the great law of cause and effect for what we allow to go forth through the positive and negative vibrations. This does not mean you can only feel happy, pleasant feelings. We have little control over our feeling body. Its job is to send us signals to help us interact with other people, places, and things through vibrations. So what I mean is that no matter your feeling signals, you are ultimately responsible for how you react to those signals via your thinking, speaking, feeling, and acting. The great law of cause and effect is in operation at all times, day and night, in all individuals, No matter your status, your rank, your educational level, doesn't matter. The result of allowing misqualified energy to exist cannot be evaded and must come to fruition at time of harvest. You, like all the rest of us, want to harvest the good things in every department of your life, but you might not realize that your harvest always depends on what kinds of seeds you have sown in the past. You might know of people who are always trying to find a way to beat the civil laws, and some of them find ways and might get away with their shenanigans for a long time. But sooner or later, the law of cause and effect has its harvest, and the price must be paid in full, one way or another, even though the civil law itself might never catch up with them in this life. I really want to drive this point thoroughly into your consciousness that the law of cause and effect is unbeatable. Your Christ consciousness, or your real self, is always present in your consciousness whether or not you realize it, and your record is continually being recorded in your book of life. On the credit side is the positive, and on the debit side is the negative. The plane of consciousness to which you will gravitate when your work is finished on this plane, and you are ready to leave for the next plane, is determined by the balance of positive and negative vibrations showing in your book of life. The earth and the fullness thereof belong to the Lord. You might have heard that passage before. No one has a corner on anything. We do not own anything, not even our own lives. That too belongs to the divine. It is the divine's will that there be no lack or limitation of any good thing in our lives, but that there be plenty and abundance for us, not to own, but to use freely and abundantly. As we have sown in the past, so will the harvest be, and it makes no difference whether we are great or small, rich or poor. There is just one way that we can master this law and use it to help us to meet the things which we've put into motion in the past through our destructive thinking, and the misuse of the spoken word, or feelings, or our actions. The one way is to learn the law and obey it, and to learn to work constructively with it. We are always subject to the law until we know the law and use it, then the law is subject to and will work for us. We have to review the things, good and bad, that we somewhere, sometime in the past put into motion. Remember, the great law brings these conditions to us for the purpose of redeeming and transmuting all negative to positive, and thus allows us to gain a balance in our book of life. I'm going to share with you now a long quote from Homer Curtis, who some of you might recognize as a co-founder of the Order of Christian Mystics, an early group of Western Mystery School tradition adherents. Every beginner who sets out upon the path of attainment does so because he must have developed within him a strong consciousness that there is something worth the seeking. Hence has aroused the daring spirit necessary to leave the old primrose path of dalliance and seek new and unknown regions. I love that phrase, primrose path of dalliance. It not only takes a firm conviction of the truth of that which we seek, but it takes far more. It takes courage, determination, and perseverance. So many believe and long to attain, yet spend incarnation after incarnation bemoaning the fate that has given them a heart with which to long and a mind with which to aspire, yet has surrounded them with so many seemingly insurmountable obstacles, which we call impossibilities. So, year after year and life after life, the longing grows fainter and the obstacles more substantial. until through the stern whippings of karma, the soul is left naked to do or die. This is well expressed in the phrase, "He who hesitates is lost." Therefore, to dare is the first step. And he goes on to say, "At this step many linger, for the great temptation is to dream rather than do." But the do here indicated must be of a very definite character. It must begin with his own life in overcoming his faults and failings. The beginner can never say, "I have accomplished," no matter what work he has done for humanity, until at least to some extent he has accomplished this first overcoming, and it begins to show in his life. But we must be lenient in our judgment, for, like a floating iceberg, 7/8 of which is always submerged below the water, so with the beginner. While his efforts must affect his life, yet the foundation must be below the surface of consciousness. Only such overcoming as has built for itself a strong foundation below the surface will endure the storms and dashings of the waves of life. Therefore, do not grow discouraged. For even if the tip appears above the water, know there are 7/8 below the surface. And even before its tip is in sight, the submerged 7/8 will do much to hold back the waves. He continues, "The hardest lesson of all is to learn to keep silent." The esoteric meaning of keep silent is not merely to refrain from talking, although it does mean that we should refrain from frivolous chatter and from gossip and criticism. Its chief meaning is that we should keep in touch with the silence and the consciousness of that deep, mysterious silence which makes all our thoughts, words, and deeds potent. It also means that we are not merely to dwell on past accomplishments, but are to realize intensely what we have accomplished, and from the past seek to understand the mighty unseen forces which work only in the silence, without which we never could have accomplished. At this time, it might be beneficial to advise you not to try to impress others with your degree of advancement by telling them of your experiences, or by boasting of your victories, or speaking of the qualities you think you've built into your characters. For if all these things are true, the world must see them, even if we are very sure that 7/8 of them are already built beneath our consciousness, because to boast of our accomplishments will only draw antagonism and dislike in response, and perhaps the very foundation you've so laboriously built below the surface will be destroyed by the heat of the antagonism provoked. Vain chattering, either out loud or mentally in talking to ourselves, will and must disturb the great silence so that we cannot be guided by it. This is what the admonishment of "be still and know that I am God" means. True inspiration comes from the divine, indwelling Christ's Spirit, and is the inbreathing of the Holy Spirit, thus making us one with the divine. Then, like Jesus, we can say, "The words that I speak unto you, I speak not of myself, but come from the Father that dwells within me." Do not try to justify, defend, or explain by much argument. Speak the truth to the best of your ability, then rest in the assurance that you've done your best and that time and events will justify you. This is the inner meaning of keeping silent or dwelling in the eternal silence. Remember, first, to know, to dare, to do whatever your soul requires for its development, no matter what the world may think or say. And go your way and keep silent. With that, we end this lesson. Thank you for joining me today. Check back next week for lesson number 13. And remember to review this material throughout the coming week. It is important to review the information. Come back every week for new lessons in metaphysics and related occult studies. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel and set the bell alert so you don't miss uploads. I appreciate receiving comments, so feel free to leave them below, especially if they're nice. If you find this information helpful, click on the donation link in the description box or go to metaphysicsLessons.com and make a donation. It helps to keep me focused on creating this type of content by knowing that you appreciate my hard work. If you would like a reading or consultation with me, please visit the metaphysicsLessons.com website, click on the Divination Studio menu link, and select your interests from the drop-down menu. Just follow the directions from there, and after you make your purchase, you can schedule your phone consult or you can submit your email questions. Blessings be upon you for your interest and attention. Wishing you love, light, peace, and prosperity. Minerva.